I still have some of your stuff since the last time you rage quit on me. It reminds me of all the good times we had.
Maybe I just didn't shoot you enough.
Maybe you wanted to shoot me more instead. Flying without you is more than I can bear. Keep looking over my shoulder, hoping to see you there. Come fly with us, won't you lend a helping hand? Come fly with us.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Push to Talk, your favorite talk show here on the internet. So, so we've got Caleb here with us, and we've got McLeod, and we've got an unmonitored, unlabeled Urandus down there in the corner. Then
damn, you should have said. I could have. Actually, I'll make a Urandus's nameplate right now while we're doing this.
I did ask you, but we were all in a rush prior.
I swear you.
Am I bad? Am I bad at doing talk shows? Is that what it is?
No, you asked me to make Scythe a nameplate. Scythe. I mean, you didn't say Urandus.
It's terrible.
I'll make Urandus ones up.
I already have
You know
one.
what? It does.
I
look
never
like,
use it.
You know, it looks like we're lagging a little bit over on the and twitchy a little on the Twitch side, actually. So hopefully Twitch will catch up. It decided to route us through Chicago East's annex this week. Usually we come to you live through the Virginia annex at Twitch, but they said that Chicago was better. So hopefully the video will get a little better here, and it sounds like from the folks in the audience that it is.
I don't know whether Chicago's better.
Hold it.
Port
66 just said something out there. Something. Drayden crashed in last night's show.
Yeah.
What happened? He crashed. He just.
It got a little bit weird and then just died completely. But then again, I've had that situation occur, and like that could have very much been a OBS or like XSplit thing.
Is that an
rather
OBS
than
issue?
actually
Is there
Twitch.
something going on Twitch, like some video games tournament shit?
Could be.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's anything going on today.
Who knows? There's always something going on, right? So once I get Urandus's nameplate, I will refresh our screen and put him up there. So the other thing is we had fun Skype issues today, and we're going to stop using Skype as soon as I can. But I couldn't get everybody's video to display. We had to look at McLeod in a teeny tiny little circle, and that wasn't going to work for the show. So we got it figured out. Sorry we're late.
I mean, that was probably better for everybody, but you know, apparently it wasn't optimal for the show. Who knew?
It's okay. It's okay. We're just fine. So I want to pull up the show notes and go into our first little segment here. I think probably one of the most awaited changes here that, by the way, finally, I think we're getting a little more professional communication out of CCP. Who kind of agrees with me on that? In communicating some of their changes.
Oh, hell yeah.
I read somewhere that it's like they're coming out of their winter sleep or their winter hibernation.
Yeah, but it seemed there for a year or two we were getting things like, and by the way, not picking on Fozzie, just using his name, right? That, you know, hey, Fozzie was announcing changes, and then you direct all the hate onto one single employee, right? Whereas
I think we got to a point around November, December where pretty much the entire player base was just face palming and just agreeing that things were shit. And I think that's when CCP decided that, okay, we can't delay this anymore. And then they've basically just been silent because they didn't know how fast they could actually deliver. But apparently they can actually get things done pretty fast when they want to.
You know, it might be the...
As far as bringing it back to professionalism and speaking, last time I was playing EVE, there was basically every single patch note or things that we're going through would basically always hit our EVE first. And it's been really refreshing to see, like, CCP actually using their new website and posting it on an actual dev blog, like, formally, which is really refreshing. And I just noticed the dev blog site actually looks really nice now, but I haven't checked on that in, like, a year, so...
It might have a lot to do with the return of Seagull as well.
I don't know. He's just back for a couple days.
Seagull is back.
If Seagull is the Messiah who is bringing good, positive changes to EVE, I love her.
Are you guys saying that she came back with a big bullwhip and has just been going crazy and cracking it on the neck of everyone?
She hasn't been back long enough to make these changes.
Oh, I don't know. I think
she's been back for what?
Checked it out and was just like, no. You're doing this. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're doing this. This is how it goes.
That's all it takes for good leadership. Once you plan in freaking good leadership, in the absence of it, shit starts working.
Well, could be, but I'm saying that they've got much more professional communication, which is something that we've written about and we've talked about on this show, and it's good to see CCP doing it this way. I mean, it's just great. So we moan about them all the time.
More professional communication from the developers and business side of CCP to the player base and their customer base is very much refreshing and highly needed.
And it could also be that all the man hours they've actually saved by the things that they've hatched might actually be paying off now.
We'll find out. So the thing that I hate the most, I hate jump fatigue. I just hate it. Okay. And not because I want to jump across the freaking universe and go smash somebody's face in. No, even just running. Do. No, just fueling things around Dell. It's pain in the fucking ass.
You know what it is? It's because you don't have like 8 to 10 hours a day to do all of the stuff. You actually, have a life and a job and everything. So, your playtime is somewhat limited, which means that, the jump changes actually do help you out with doing stuff.
Yeah, kids, they got to go to musical practice, voice practice.
Exactly.
Tutoring, all that good shit, and you got to run around. Now we're going to have tennis in the mix. Shit. All the money I could have saved not having kids. Okay, nobody have kids.
About 250,000.
Yeah.
I mean, on jump fatigue, for me at least, I think some sort of cooldown is required, at least for jump drives. I personally think that a kind of cooldown like this would be much better if this was kept simple. I don't understand why CCP is still keeping this this 2-timer system where you have your blue actual cooldown and your orange, which just stacks onto the blue. Why can't CCP just get rid of the orange and just make the blue countdown a solid 30 minutes? Because the blue timer is never going to hit 30 minutes, never going to go past 30 minutes now. So why doesn't CCP just set 30 minutes to the base cooldown? So that way, whenever you jump in a capital, you then have to wait 30 minutes for that cooldown to start.
Or something in between there, right? Maybe not make it a base 30, but make it somewhere between 10 and 30. So on average, you spend the same period of time jumping across the universe. The other thing is, you're right, one or the other timer. And by the way, let's not make it okay to jump at 10 minutes. Can we just make that 0, please? I don't understand that.
No, you can't make it 0.
And then another thing is another thing that I think this has been an issue, and I think the player base has had a much bigger issue with, collectively at least, as far as jump fatigue is concerned, are jump bridges. That has been, affecting subcapitals since it came in. Basically, it makes them very, I don't want to say useless, because they still have some use to them, but there's no real point in owning space just for jump bridges now. I feel like if you could have it so that you could use a jump bridge and subcapitals wouldn't have a cooldown, you could at least use jump bridges then as some sort of defensive mechanism instead of some sort of I don't know. I think jump fatigue on jump bridges is stupid.
I actually think, Noisy is spot on with his comment that since we wanted it as fast as possible, they couldn't change the whole 2 different timers thing because of all the UI changes that would be required.
Well, let's think about this, right? Nothing needs to be as fast as possible. Just do it right the first time. Then you don't have to come back and revisit it and fix it in 6 months after everybody's bitched about it being wrong for a year and a half, right?
I mean, I would say the issue with that, Eric, though, is not so much because it's okay to not get things 100% right the first time you get it. When you don't get it right the first time, you just need to iterate. And I think that's been CCP's biggest issue with jump fatigue is they haven't iterated. And this is the second time they've iterated, and jump fatigue has been out for almost 4 years now, 3 years now.
Well, I think you're on with a lot of the challenges that I think people, or I don't want to say disgust, but the frustration that people have with CCP. I think you're right on your end. Is they do something and then they never come back and fix it because they're always on to the next big thing, right?
Yeah, and I'm wondering, because we've seen a lot of a harder focus of doing one thing, moving on to the next, at least as long as Siegel has been away from the office on maternity leave, right? So I'm wondering if whoever was taking her place in as far as leadership role has been kind of more pushing that, where Siegel would be more focused now on let's just start iterating on what we have.
Which is basically because iteration demands some sort of discussion, right? Back and forth with CSM, with the developers, and then, of course, the player base in general. Whereas rolling out new stuff that's already been decided, that's not something you need to get permission for.
Yep. So, hey, by and large, though, this is a huge plus on the iteration, I think, of jump fatigue. What do you guys think about that?
I kind of like it.
I think it's a little more balance of a system.
I disagree with, everyone who I've seen on Twitter and shows are saying this is such a huge iteration from CCP of finally they're starting to iterate on things. I disagree with that almost wholesale because this isn't that big of iterations. They're changing numbers on 2 or 3 things. They're not making gigantic sweeping changes. And for the most part, it's taken over a year for them to get these iterations out. I don't think this is a situation of, oh my God, CCP is, making so many changes. This is oh my God, CCP is actually doing something sensible.
Well, but we do have to take into account that every time that CCP makes changes, there's the whole cumulative effect on the entire ecosystem, right? So they cannot really do massive changes. They like to tweak things instead and then wait and see the effect. I know that this is where Eric says, well, usually they kind of don't, but they have started to do that recently.
Well, you got to float the trial balloon, right, and see the feedback that you get. I'm gonna actually say something. You'll probably all hate me for saying it out there in the audience. I'm thinking that taking the maximum down to 30 minutes is a little too much.
I might actually agree with you on that.
I'm a little bit in agreement. Like, I think 30 minutes is too short. Like 45 to an hour. 45 is probably, like, I'd go between 30 and a half and 30 and an hour.
30 minutes would seem... Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
No, go ahead. You finish.
No, I was going to say, 30 minutes would definitely fit for like a more casual sandbox experience. However, I think right now, as far as the at least as far as the galaxy is set up at this point, I think 30 minutes is too short for it being, you know, a scalable timer. If it was a flat 30 minutes, no matter what, then I wouldn't see much of an issue. But yeah, I haven't used capitals in like 6 months now, so.
Yeah, I'm thinking, so it went from max of 7 days, right, guys?
The orange timer went from 7 days.
Yeah.
So the blue timer went from what?
I think
30?
the maximum you could get the blue timer was like a day, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like 24 hours. You cannot jump, essentially.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I might have not.
Because it was 30 and now they changed it right down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have not dipped that quite down to 30 minutes from a day.
But that's the
you know
blue
what?
timer.
We're gonna find
The
out.
orange timer they reduced from 30 or from like 7 days to like 5 hours or something.
Which that 5 hours is actually a lot more reasonable because a fucking day is well I've jumped too much. I guess I have to log off for 24 hours because I can't do what I need to do. You know.
5 hours would basically screw you over with anything else that you wanted to do in that evening.
Yeah, but it's
because essentially what it meant was you couldn't really go on any kind of op, because if it required like, say, you know, you jumping through jumping on top of something in like a Black Ops fleet, then you couldn't really do that. Or if it required like, you know, jumping through a Titan onto a gang in order to actually successfully, you know, defend your space, you couldn't do that either. So it kind of screwed you over with doing anything, you know, PvP related in terms of, you know, your general sovereignty. Like, I mean, yeah, you can still go roaming around in like a small gang if you want, kind of thing, but there's fewer and fewer people doing that. And the reason why there's fewer and fewer people doing that is because there's less reasons for people to be in space. Like lately, I mean, they're kind of changing it a little bit. They're sort of looking like they're changing it a little bit more, like these days. But it's harder to catch people. There's people are in less, you know, vulnerable situations in space than they were, you know, say 2-3 years ago. So, like, that's why you don't see that many roaming gangs out there as much, anyway.
Yeah, I don't think they're terrible changes, and while I may not agree with some of the timings, I think it's generally overall positive. And I think that's what we're kind of all agreeing to, so that's good.
Retrofusion asks, how do we get more small gangs out in Null?
I think that's when you change the meta from everything being an interceptor to something more interesting.
Yeah. Let's get rid of interceptor interdiction nullification.
Oh man, I read that so bad.
It would.
I mean,
it would make the game a lot more balanced because here comes a claw fleet. There's another claw fleet. Oh guys, look, claw fleets.
Because like the thing is, like, when you're interdiction nullified small gang, it's like nothing can stop you, so you're not going to take the fight anyway. So
no, yeah, it's fucking
it's always funny. It's always
like,
funny
no
to
one's
see.
going to fight you because they wouldn't be able to tackle you, so they're just going to die.
Exactly.
And so it's just like neither side gets a fight.
Yeah,
it's just so funny when you're sitting on a, like, when you're trying to catch something and you're sitting on a gate, like, you know, knowing that there's gonna be a fleet coming through, and then like, oh, it's claws, and then you're like, you know, like anybody who's remotely, you know, knowledgeable about sort of PvP is like, fucking claws. You know that you're not going to catch them. They'll jump into you. They'll be off the gate before you can even lock any of them. And you know, you always end up with that one dude in the dicta or in the hick that bubbles up, and you're just like, what was the fucking point of that?
Yep.
There was no point in that whatsoever.
I miss flying my hick because now it's pretty much fucking useless.
And you see, you know, exactly, you know, in terms of what Retrofusion asked, like, how do you get more people in space? Well, you know, if you remove the ability for people to just go straight through the most, you know, most organized and set up, like, gate camps, then lo and behold, you have gate camps. because gate camps mean something, and that means that there are people in space in situations where they're not able to just tether straight away, or in that kind of thing. And when you have that situation, then you have people who want to maybe break up that gate camp, and then you have two groups out in space doing something. It's like it's a cumulative effect, right?
Absolutely.
You remove the super easy way of people being able to move through space, like unimpeded. Like, because I've got Scepterfits that can go through smart bomb gate camps, that can probe down any wormhole at this current time, that have enough cargo space for one light of a Cyno, and also have a Cyno fitted. Like, and that's just one fit. That's not like 3 different fits. That's a single fit that I have, and it can align sub 2 seconds as well. So, I mean, just remove as far as I'm concerned, just remove the nullification. Then, because it's not a massive impediment to a Scepter's ability to to get from A to B, if the actual Scepter pilot is in any way a decent Scepter pilot, because they can get out of a bubble that's 15 kilometers in diameter, in radius easily.
Yeah, it takes approximately 3 seconds to burn through it, let alone a half a second to just turn around and go the other way.
I mean, so moving away from that, how do you guys feel about the SOV changes?
I don't think they go far enough, but they're along the right direction. Like, I still think the amount of nodes that spawn is too much. Like, but
you still think it's too much? It's cosmic whack-a-mole, not enough focus.
I think you can. The thing is, like, however much you're going to sort of break it up, the larger group is still going to have a bit of a better focus. Of being able to sort of divide themselves up. Like 1,000 divided by 10 is it has more control over has more control on those 10 than 10 people divided up 10 ways, right? So
how do you feel about the Entosis ships finally being able to receive reps? Do you think that's going to force any more brawls onto Entosis nodes, or do you think that's just going to not do it?
It's not going to do
shit.
Entosis doesn't do anything to begin with.
Well, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's not that many people have been fighting too much in terms of the sovereignty warfare, and the people that do, have are kind of semi-quiet about it. Like, but I think anything that stops the situation where you get, where the only kind of option available to any group is to, drop a lift on it, or a fax, basically.
Yeah, because isn't the current meta been just like drop a fax and then just
because if you don't drop a fax, if you don't drop a fax, then you're basically using something that will end up getting jammed by a Griffin, or get basically hazed by a moderate sized claw fleet. So
But now that they can use remote assistance, do you think that it will the usage of subcapital Entosis will go up, or do you think that that's just not going to change?
I think it will. I think it will. I think people will be really tentative about it first, and then someone will find a method that works quite well, and then people will notice and gravitate towards it. But I think it's a step in the right direction. I still think, I think allowing complete, unimpeded remote rep assistance might be a bit bad, because I think isn't it you're allowed to remote rep, but it's penalized in some way or to some degree, isn't it? Something like that. Unless I read that wrong.
I don't know.
Find it.
So when I read the SOV capture and Entosis link changes, right? The only thing that I think would make me happy with those is to get rid of Entosis. The little Harry Pottering of little things all over the place just drives me up the freaking wall.
There was a there was an interesting kind of, and I was just quickly reading up. It doesn't have any impediment of remote assistance. So that's I mean, it's okay. I kind of think that it shouldn't be completely negated, because you're just going to have damnations there, like, you know, going brick tanking and going, you know, you can't kill me, I'm getting remote rep assistance, it's fine. But
regardless, all of these changes, right, the entire patch notes, it's all Frankenstein stuff, right? It's all turning knobs that are already in the game. They're not really removing anything, they're not really adding anything, they're just changing some variables, which is good because it's stuff that we've been asking for a long time, and suggestions that have come from the player base. It's just a little bit sad that it took this long to make this decision.
Honestly, it's stupid. It's ridiculous that it's taken this long.
Let's put it this way. If CCP promised to get rid of Aegisov and do something else, I would stop calling it FozzieSov and call it Aegisov for once. But
yep,
they're not.
I did want... Actually, I wanted to do a quick note on the Entosis thing, because I think a lot of people still think that, like, you know, because they're allowing remote rep assistance, that capitals will be able to do this. Like, it does specifically say on Fozzie's post that it's worth noting that capital ships running Entosis links would continue to be prevented from receiving remote assistance. So you're not going to have this, like...
So what you're telling me is we can't stack
coming in
on the Entosis.
You can't drop a lift or a carrier.
A lift with lift back up.
So what you're saying is that nothing is really changing on the capital side.
Yeah.
No.
And that's part of the gameplay.
But subcap is changing and getting a little bit better in terms of the gameplay.
And that's where I think CCP fails, right? When you have conditional things of gameplay, you make it more complicated to play the game, right? Whereas the game's already complicated enough. It's complex, but you don't have to make it complicated. And I differentiate the two there. So it's like, if you use this ship, you can be rep, but if you don't, then you can't, right? Not only does it defy logic, okay, in all cases, right? It just is bad gameplay. It makes it complicated. My opinion. Take it or leave it, right?
I'm gonna leave it.
You're gonna leave it? You're gonna leave it?
I'm gonna leave it. No, it makes no fucking sense. You're correct. Logically, world building wise, it's fucking stupid, and it makes no sense why X ship can't receive reps when Y ship can.
Yeah,
that's just fucking dumb. But balance wise, wouldn't it be fun to see like a whole squadron of fucking like faxes sitting there trying to Entosis this thing and then fucking start dropping shit on them? Like, would that not bring dynamic gameplay? It get the caps. It get just fucking cap bombs these fuckers. I mean, it'll be fucking great. Like, I think you'd actually get cap fights going again, which I love.
I like King Alres's comment, right? It goes against Eve Lore to not have a system in place which can be 100% spreadsheeted. It just brings it to my eye.
Well, the thing with having cap fights is you always have to think, like, you know, oh, you can have a cap fight, but like there will always be that situation where the cap fight will go on sort of long enough for people to bring in, you know, supers, and especially now that they've changed the sort of
I want them to bring in the super. I want to fucking just throw titans at each other as
I know,
fucking cannon fire.
Yeah, but Scythe, like, it'll be really nice if like we get to that point, but like people won't sacrifice their super, you know, their supers and titans.
Then they'll lose. Then they'll lose the situation.
They have no idea whether it's actually going to be, you know, whether they're going to live or die on that.
Then they lose off.
Isn't it important to get that?
Yeah, but it's not as important as that. Like, we've seen this where, like, you know, where goons lost all of their Sov, like where the whole of the North lost all of their Sov, and you know, did they throw the super caps into the blender? No, because they're more important than Sov.
It's true. You can always go get Sov somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. But we could also make, like, literally, we were joking about it this morning. About every 5 seconds, we produce 4 supers. You know,
that is a statistic that is unproven.
It's that I'm sorry. Sorry. What is it? Every time you clap your hands, 80 supers are born, and the goons just start jerking it. You know. Like
That's just wrong.
Every click of the finger, and there's a Sov born. There's a Super Cat born.
what is it? So every time I
Indeed.
clap my hands, a child dies in Africa. Well, stop clapping your fucking
Yeah, yeah.
hands. Yeah, it's every time I clap my hands, goons build another super, and PL and Test are crying.
Hey, Mitten said we're only building Titans from now on, so it's not supers.
Well,
Rest in peace,
fucking
Super.
fine. We can crank Titans out just as quick, I think.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I think for the most part, people's sort of the amount of supers that they have are basically like, well, that's how I'm ratting now from now onwards. Like, you know, it's not
Titan
really.
ratting.
Wait, hold on.
That's-
I gotta interrupt y'all. Port 66 has created the greatest TV show of all time. You know, there's Shark Week. We're gonna have Titan Week on EVE Online. How fucking awesome would that be? A week of streams where it's just fucking Titans doing nonsense.
documentary of how the
Documentary
first
on the
Titan was
first
destroyed.
I want to
Yes.
see one of those come out of the water and eat a seal.
Yeah, it just
I'd pay real money.
it breaches out of a fucking docking bay, and you're like, and this is how a Titan bounces really fast.
Some Russian goes
And that's
over
just
and
like-
cuts someone
just
else's
like-
power, and then the first Titan kill nail happens.
Yeah,
I was just like thinking like Titans in like sort of situations that you probably wouldn't expect, like
McLeod,
Titans in
get
sort of
really
like a
really
large
soft
asteroid
and
belt and
Britishy.
stuff. But that happens anyway.
McLeod, I
Sorry?
just like get the super soft narrator-y voice because you're British and you can actually do the accent correctly, and give us like, here we see a squadron of insert Titan here, eating their natural prey, the Nick Super Carrier.
Here we
You know what?
see,
This is a new video by Chandra. We need a new one.
here we see the
We get fake Morgan Freeman to show up.
Megattrons farming the
There is
natural
someone-
food.
Actually, you guys are missing it all.
I remember
Wait,
seeing.
wait, hold on, what?
It wasn't
Go
a
on.
YouTube. It wasn't an Eve thing, but I remember seeing a PUBG video where someone had like David Attenborough's voice down to a fucking T. It was amazing. I was literally there, kind of going, "Holy crap, that is actually David Attenborough doing that," and it was like, it was amazing. Like,
Jacques
Eric, what did
Cousteau.
you say we missed?
Jacques Cousteau. That's whose voice we need.
Oh, okay.
Jacques Cousteau.
Here we
Still-
see the Titan in its natural habitat. Wow.
Yes.
A few moments later.
A few moments later,
Hey,
the
for an
Titan
English guy,
has
you do
mine
that
one
pretty
rock
good,
and high
McLeod.
sec.
Well, we're quite close to France.
Yeah, you're basically sleeping cousins, Alabama style.
Going
As
Going
they
on
say in the
friggin-
South.
how about those tethering changes though? Jumping and tethering changes.
I think it's.
I love
How do
them.
you
I
feel
don't think it
around
doesn't
this?
change a whole lot.
Wait, I'm bad and may not have read that. What's
think-
the tethering one?
So
I think
so,
they're adding a 30-second like timer
Delay.
to basically
30
before you. Yeah, like essentially, you know, when you've come out of vulnerability, you have 30 seconds before the tether actually kicks in.
That's not gonna do shit. Yeah, I mean,
not gonna do that
even
much,
if someone's jumping everything to an Astrahoos, like who's gonna jump on Titans, and how many Titan kills are you gonna get in 30 seconds, right? Like,
Well, it's not Titan kills in 30 seconds. Like the tether mechanic will not kick in if you get scrammed. So if someone locks you and scrams you in
Hold on.
that 30 seconds,
King-
you're not
King
going to get
Ares-
tethered at all.
it's still
King,
not
King
enough.
Aries has a good one. Does the tether
not
timer
enough.
get affected by
That's what
tie-dye?
it's
Oh
not.
no, it doesn't. Then it's worthless. That's technically correct. If the timer is not affected by tie-dye, it's fucking stupid.
And that's tie-dye is. would fix
No,
a
I'm
lot
sure.
of
I'm
things.
fairly certain it will do.
that's right. And 30 seconds is more than enough
Oh,
for
yeah.
time for something to go wrong. but-
Because your invulnerability timer also gets affected by tie-dye, so I'm fairly certain that timer will get affected. But you never know. This is CPCP. They might accidentally forget about ticking that box that says be affected by tie-dye.
Like
I
they
can
did
personally
for all
tell you,
structures.
30 seconds is enough time for everything to go wrong.
Right?
It is in a perfect situation.
Because
But
it's happened to me. 30 seconds and yeah.
I mean, I think I've lost a carrier, two carriers in a dread in wormhole space in 30 seconds when I'm like, oh, I'll be right back. And yeah, I just heard screaming over the headset after I got back to my office.
I personally think
we died.
that I personally think that 30 seconds is enough time in an unfortunate situation for shit to go wrong. But I personally do think that that you shouldn't be able to light a cyno inside of the tether range of a Citadel. Like that's my personal opinion. I know that there's going to be people out there who think that I'm completely batshit crazy.
I don't think you should be able to light
it's
a
cyno
on grid with one. Like fucking,
I don't know about on grid. Like grid's
it's not even grid with the grid is huge now. Back in the day, grid was not as big. But no, I don't mean grid. I mean like you shouldn't be even within like X kilometers of it, like 100K of the object. You shouldn't be able to light a cyno.
Yeah.
So you'll have cynos lit at like 200 from whatever station they want to dock at, and then they fucking have to move their shit.
Well, that was the cool thing about about cynos, cynoing something onto a old school pulse, because if you cynoed capitals, at 0 on a pause, like obviously you had that mechanic that like push the cyno out, like say I think it was like 5 kilometers. If you came out like 10 kilometers from the actual the shield of a pause, like that was a moment which would make you sweat. That was a situation which you were like, oh fuck, like I could die here.
It's good shit though,
and the way that people prevented that was basically cynoing within warp distance, or at warp distance from the pause. You could basically cyno up and then warp in. I mean, that's how I kind of feel like it should be on Citadels, personally.
Yeah, I mean, they need to be a little more scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Next?
What's our next nonsense?
Well,
that's
you know what?
That's a good
What's
comment
the
right there
the
from
easiest
King. Why
thing
hasn't
to talk-
Caleb yelled at any of us yet?
Because we haven't given him any ammo.
Because we haven't moved on to any kind
Here's
of
something-
pseudo.
Here's something that I
We haven't talked
haven't
about
moved on to-
economic nonsense yet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just that
Caleb,
there's no way of
DIY.
knowing the
Go.
effects of any of these changes in advance, right? We have to see them in the wild. There's a lot of comments from people that will be specifically affected by one or the other change, right? And they can comment, but commenting on it as a whole, really there's nothing to say. And everything has been said because, and me personally, I cannot comment on doctrine changes in the meta because I have no clue where they're going to go.
But Caleb,
everyone that knows have already said what is going to happen, right?
Caleb, how are these tether changes going to affect the economic downfall of Delve?
It's no change. It's a very small change. That's one of those suggestions that came into the CSM that players have been talking about for a while because the old tether was too safe. This was a compromise, really, and that's what this whole patch thing is. It's just compromises and compromises and compromises, and it's going to delay the rage until CCP can get their act together and make some actual changes, right?
Yeah, I could actually see jump freighters die a lot.
No, jump freighters.
Yeah, but they're gonna adapt within what 2 months, right?
Say again?
See, the only time.
Shut up.
I'm just gonna say.
You talked over Mirandus was trying to say a thing.
Okay,
Oh, I was trying to say, like, how would the nerf of Macarials affect the production of Trit and Eve, but...
It wouldn't.
Oh,
We'll
So,
just produce
remember-
other battleships.
Remember, it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect jump freighters at all because they're just going to dock up like they're going from system to system. What this really, I think this is a targeted change, right?
We are going to get a few days of oops, I didn't read the patch notes, right?
Yeah, we are.
well,
We
to be fair,
all-
You're going to get a weekend of oops, I didn't fucking know it was Burn Gita either, but that's another point.
Oh, when's that?
It's the same with the Upwell 2.0, right? The extreme increase in destroyed fucking structures. It's all because people hadn't actually checked and fueled and reset their timers.
saying that, like, I am kicking myself for not going into wormholes and finding low power structures and killing them, because like the stuff that dropped from that, the amount of like ISK that dropped from those kind of low power kind of structures was insane, because they don't get asset safety, so it just all drops. like the amount of ISK that dropped out of low powered structures that got killed in wormholes was just nuts.
Oh yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. The but when we talk about, let's talk about the tethering here for a minute, because I was going to say something. They were targeted specifically, not at jump freighters, not at subcaps, not at any of that. They were purely targeted as an easy way from Astra House to Astra House to move your capital fleet, okay, and move it into place. Right now, this just places your fleet at risk because they can't dock it in Astra House, and they're not going to instantly tether. So they're just adding a little more risk into that. That's all this was intended to do, in my mind.
And that's good.
Which is good.
It's totally fine.
And something that the player base have talked about for a while now is, why can't we maybe get a way to get anything to untether, right? Any kind of mechanic, a ton of suggestions have been made, right? And there's really no solution to it. And if we go back and look at why tethering was added to the game in the first place, it's pretty much tied to all the problems with docking games, right?
Well, tethering was added to the
It was meant to replace POS shields, but you can't. You would have, if you were in a POS shield and you wanted to aggress someone, you would have to go all the way outside of the POS shield to aggress them. With tether mechanics, you don't have to move anywhere. You can lock them up, still be tethered, and then finally when you're ready, activate everything.
Yeah, it's a really nice solution to those two things in the past, right? The difference with the stations and then the POS benefits, right? So now they added something that basically solves both problems, right? It doesn't add an actual shield, which would be abused a lot.
I don't know about solving. Like, it's created problems.
So it compounded both of their issues that they both had, and that I wouldn't say it really solved any problems. It might have solved a problem, but it more or less compounded both of their issues that they had.
Yeah, Raziel's saying in chat that when you target, you untether.
Yeah, but there's no way to actively get someone forcibly to untether.
Well, you can have that when you can have a way to forcibly make somebody not cloaky camp for 8 days.
There were ways, but to get someone aggressed and therefore untether, but they were deemed as an exploit, so you couldn't do them. Like there was a. No, I'm not even gonna say how it was done, because I don't even know whether it's been fixed, and I don't want to basically tell people how to exploit on the show. So, nah.
Yep, smart man.
Good man. Here's.
But yeah, there were ways, and they were deemed an exploit. So don't.
Yeah, here's a thing where I can't believe the code has been around this long. Moving the e-voice out of there. Taking that code away.
I mean that
it has sound.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
I've only ever used it on. I've only ever actively used it on Singularity server when I, every so often, helped on the the little kind of tests that they did, that CCP did.
I've never used it once, and
they would use,
if there was any development time being spent on that, just personal rooms in stations, get rid of it.
Yeah.
I used it in my friggin' pre-PvP days, when I first started. I didn't know anything about friggin' Mumble or anything like that.
Well, you see, the thing is, I think eVoice was a potential avenue to be utilized in game, up until the point where, basically, Discord became a thing. Because before it was a case of you had to really have. Well, you had to if you wanted to have a TeamSpeak server or a Mumble server, you had to have a server to base it on, really, or pay, literally pay, the people who make TeamSpeak in order to actually have a server. Whereas now, anybody can make a Discord server and talk to their people via voice over IP for nothing. It's free, pretty much, right? So if you didn't have the money to spend on having your own server to put a Mumble server on, or pay the guys who make TeamSpeak to have a TeamSpeak server, then yeah, eVoice was a way for CCP to help you out in terms of having those comms. But now everyone has Discord, and it's so easy and to make that why even have eVoice?
I'm wondering if there was any overhead over on Eve servers or on their network that they're going to cut out and save money on too. If anybody was even using it, because that would be a good thing.
For eVoice, I think it was 0.4.
I disagree with the eVoice thing, because if you look at a lot of games, like if you're in any kind of group, if no one uses any game service, they're all using something like TeamSpeak, Mumble, or Ventrilo. If they're like I've never seen a game where any group has
don't
used,
shit on Vent. All right, Vent was dope.
Like I've never seen any group.
Ventrilo was solid, man. Don't shit on it.
It was. I liked Ventrilo when
I love the
Ventrilo
text to speech on Ventrilo. You control real hard with that shit.
The thing that annoyed the fuck out of me about Ventrilo was it would beep at you and you'd have no idea what that beep was meant to be.
Exactly, which was great.
And I was
you
just
can trigger beeps to keep. So I love Ventrilo. I used to have it keyed up where if someone hit a button or something on accident, it would start playing nonsense on the server. It always made me laugh because people would just hit it and it's like a sound bomb.
I'm pretty sure there's a text to speech in Discord as well. By the way,
it's not as good. It's not as customizable as Ventrilo.
I went from going on Ventrilo where because on Ventrilo you would hit a button and it would make a little chirp whenever your push to talk went on. I went from that to TeamSpeak, and TeamSpeak didn't have that, at least with the default settings. So I was really concerned whenever I would hit my push to talk. Like, can you guys hear me? I'm not sure if I'm muted. Speaking up.
Oh man, Ventrilo, Jesus.
Yeah, it's
But that's not the important thing that's gonna get changed, right? The important part of that dev blog was that they're using they're getting rid of the old chat system.
Yeah,
and we're not going to miss
upping it to a and also the do you mean the in-game chat?
We're finally getting a service that can actually potentially be hosted outside, so we might actually be able to get it on our devices and shit.
Yeah, Alliance chat in you can get local chat on your phone.
I'm pretty sure that we've requested that for more than 10 years.
Is that the closest that Eve will ever get to being augmented reality, like walking around your hometown, or
it's a bit stupid, right? Because it's so weird. Late, right? We've all migrated to Discord and have Discord on our phones and everything. So them adding the option to potentially do that with the Eve client is a little bit too late, in my opinion.
I absolutely have Discord on my phone. Absolutely.
Yep. I may or may not play with it way too much when I'm at work if we're bored.
You
actually,
that never happens. You're exaggerating.
Actually, I said I may or may not. I have no idea what's happening here.
I would like to say actually that hating on Gloria Ferro actually has a good point. CCP did say in that dev blog that the amount of CPU time that the chat system uses is actually extraordinarily high for what it is. So moving it off into its own thing as XMPP would actually potentially add some more performance to fleet fights.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's also a great move in preparation for the 64-bit client, right?
It would be. And by the way, Port 66 does not mute me on Discord. He just flat outright, doesn't pay attention to any of my PMs.
Mm-hmm.
That's because he's a shithead. Let's just call it what it is, all right?
So, how about this new command ship?
I haven't even seen it. What is it?
Please. So, okay.
I need this.
It's a dedicated FC
Link
ship.
it. I need to see it.
It's a dedicated FC ship that looks essentially like a Canadian ship.
Oh, okay. I know what
It
this
has
is now. I heard about it in
massive
Fleet the other
shield, hull, and armor with 90% resistances across the board, and it can only fit a prop module. It has like
All
one
right.
of the best locking ranges and things like that. So it's essentially all you would really need from an FC ship: large tank, low sig, great locking. But it's like I don't see a point to it.
No
It's
probing.
just shoot this guy first. Like it's
No, because it has 90% armor resistances and massive HP buffers. It's not going. It's in
can
really
it
small sig. as
shoot
far
or
as I'm aware.
anything, or does it just fucking?
It can't shoot. It can't target paint or anything like that.
You can't
All
target
it can
paint,
really
you can
do,
only fit a prop mod,
it
basically.
can only fit prop mods, and that's it.
Well,
What the
the
fuck's
thing
the
that I
point?
hate
there's
about
a bit of a caveat, right? We
It
don't
was
really know
meant-
exactly
that
where
I
it's
hate
going to end
about
up.
This, the real thing that I hate about this is that I feel like command ships, like the T2 battle cruisers, should be doing that. T2 battle cruisers should be the ones that have that massive tank that should be able to, that's what they're in their name, command ship. That's what they should be doing. So I feel like it's really stupid that CCP needs to add a very specific ship for something that they could just handle by buffing T2 battle cruisers.
Yeah.
Well, here's the big challenge, right? It's for FCs that are tired of having spies knowing where the FCs are and just getting shot, right?
The
Still
issue
fixes
with that is, like, I mean, it still doesn't fix anything. Like, I mean, if you're going to be in a situation where you're going to get, like, outfit out,
Because now
and, like, if you're not being, proactive enough to, provide, sort of alternative alternative target callers, alternative anchors and stuff like that in your fleet, then, like, there's a multitude of issues to go with that. And I did put down like a reply in that thread, which I think sums it up quite a lot. I'll link it in chat, but and I'll give you a bit of a TLDR. Hang on a sec.
Did you use a lot of words?
I did use a lot of words. I linked a few people's posts because I read through that thing like all the way up to there fairly extensively, and there were some good alternative suggestions, which I think solves a lot of issues. But I'll quickly read what I said here. But like I said, basically, also any FC worthy of the FC label multi-boxes, and any fleet that's going to a situation where you'll be fighting a fleet that can alpha your FC should have the redundancies in the form of secondary and tertiary FCs and anchors and target callers. If your if your anchor is obvious by the ship type, which it would be with this freaking flag cruiser, right? And you count on that for just basically salvation, then you're not going to last, because one, if you're an anchor, you're going to get webbed down, and so your fleet's going to be just sitting there doing nothing. Secondly, if you're going to get scrammed and you're asking your fleet to warp off, you're staying there, your fleet's going somewhere else. You can't FC after that. So you're stuck in the middle there. And thirdly, yeah, fair enough, it's got, it's got a large amount of HP, a small sig and high resists. But, if your Logi Wing is dead, you're not getting reps, you're dead. It's just a matter of time. Simple. So thinking that it's a god tier ship that'll stop you from being killed as an FC is a fucking wishful thinking.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be used. Not even by novice FCs. I mean, somebody mentioned that maybe it was a way to get novice FCs to feel comfortable. And I'm sitting there going, you know what? If you're against the F1 monkeys and you hate all that sort of stuff, let FCs get shot like everybody else. That's how we, I hate to say, that's how we started winning the Revolutionary War.
Plus, it also came up in, it also came up in one of the other kind of, I think it was it not? It wasn't Cap Staple. It was one of the other kind of things. It was in, I think, actually Jeff Rader's podcast show, which is interesting because, he probably doesn't realize that I actually listen to a show. But they were talking about how a lot of the FCs that you think of as, fairly sizable FCs, actually you know, their first taste of FCing was when the FC that they were flying under got headshotted and had to ask somebody to start calling targets.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen,
any sort of an FC was basically I was in with a group of people on TeamSpeak and we were all mining, and then some people jumped into our system like, "Hey guys, we can kill these guys. Let's all go in our shiny tap action cruisers." And then we somehow all got our asses handed to us because we're all noobs.
Hey.
And
we
then I
missed
got
earlier.
messaged by the Alliance leader at that time saying, "You're not allowed to say anything on comms anymore about leading people." And I'm just like,
I tried real hard.
I tried.
I tried. Man?
I don't know if we thanked him, but thanks to DT underscore DJ K whatever. Yeah, for your sub.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it or not.
I did not see it. I missed
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So thank you.
I saw that. Yeah. I'm just scrolling back and I'm like, oh, damn, missed that.
Yeah, is the thing popping up on the video where it says someone sub still?
You know what? I didn't see it pop up. So
because I didn't see it either.
But yeah, like you know, coming back to that kind of point, like if you don't cause that situation where people can be handed the possibility of doing something that they don't normally do, then you deny the possibility of people inadvertently becoming trying out FCing or target coiling and realizing that they actually really quite like this and they want to do a little bit more, So this ship is kind of like a weird sort of like saving grace to people who don't realize that it's not their saving grace in any way, shape, or form, and it also single-handedly also stifles the the increase of FCs that realize that they actually quite like FCing. So.
Oh, I hate
it's weird.
It's like leading kittens, and it's like punching kittens in the face. You just no.
Well, you have to have that alpha kind of character of just if the kitten, like, I mean, we are talking of like I was about to say if the kitten's misbehaving, punch it, but that's just wrong in so many different levels. So
punching kittens is me. I don't even like. I'm the guy who says a catapult is named a catapult for a reason.
You're not wrong.
Punching kittens, jeez.
It's like I've hunted rabbits, skinned them, and made them into stew. Like, I would still never hit punch a kitten in the face.
You were the one who started off using kittens as the
Again,
what if it's like a baby tiger? Like if it's a tiger kitten, would you punch a tiger kitten if it was trying to bite you? But what if the tiger kitten was trying to bite you real hard?
I think it's still a cub.
I would punch a tiger.
So let's talk about our big announcement. Let's get out of this tiger kitten bullshit.
Let's move away from the random abuse of animals.
Would you punch a baby shark in the face? Go.
Well, fuck yeah. I mean,
okay,
so
good.
Would you?
So you would punch a baby tiger as well, then? That we've determined.
Everybody loves.
So if you had to punch either a baby tiger or a baby kitten, what would you?
I'd punch both. Just to make sure I didn't have you punch them both at the same time and be like, I couldn't make up my mind.
And then you'll be eaten by the mama. Good job.
Exactly.
So we have a great show, a really interesting show next weekend, and I wanted to let everybody know about it in advance.
Oh,
yeah. Tell all your friends because it's going to be really cool.
So hype.
So we are actually going to have a full discussion with CCP RAM and CCP Denormalized. CCP RAM is one of the senior system administrators on TQ, and CCP Denormalized is the senior database administrator for the environment. So if a bunch of you are geeks out there who want to know what the hell happens on the back end and how do they keep this thing running when we're all beating the crap out of it, these are the guys to talk to, and I think we're going to have a great time and a great conversation with them. What do you guys think?
And to be fair, like the Eve server cluster is probably the largest, sort of networked supercomputer in commercial use, I think, something like that.
So I have an artist rendering of CCP.
It should be. It's really.
It's not even close.
Or was it? It used to be.
I would be willing to bet it'd be more larger for like a video game.
Maybe for video games, you're probably pretty close. Although Life is Feudal seems to have quite a few. So But they clearly have the most interesting setup, and we are going to be talking to them about it. Because, well, number one, I think EVE is one of those games that is architected in a way that is way cooler than 99.999% of everything out there. So
you're going to get to rant a lot, right, Eric? Going to rant about all the things that you've been talking about on this show.
No, this isn't about ranting. This is about pure geek bonding and talking about what they do. This is not a thing where we're going to come at them and say these are all the things that we think are wrong with your system because bullshit. We don't know, right? We
can already assume like one of the issues is like it's only single threaded, and that would require an entire rewrite of the game, basically, which is just not.
This is not sysadmins. Sysadmins have to deal with the code that devs write, and trust me, as somebody who's lived on that side for more than 2 decades, right? It is very interesting when the guys say, well, why isn't that query running fast enough? And then, you sit there and go, because you dumped 60 billion rows in the fucking table and we can't make it run any faster than that, Or you've got a 5-page query. Fuck you, okay? No, this is going to be a fun conversation with these guys. It's going to be very cool.
Do you think they're going to announce some hardware upgrade?
No, I don't think they're not here necessarily to announce anything. I've asked them to come on the show
they would
have
not
a geek
announce
fest,
something
man.
like that on a podcast. CCP. Time again, they would only announce something like that on a more official thing, like a dev blog or a Reddit post, because.
Yeah, they don't come on our show to announce those things, so I wouldn't expect that. But if you want questions, right, I'm going to. I made on my Twitter account, if you follow me, Eric Asmock, on Twitter, I'm going to announce an address to send some questions from the audience too. So that
Eric, there's a whole list of questions. I believe one of your friends actually sent you a list of that. We should ask a few of them.
Oh, we will.
You know the list I'm thinking of.
I know the list.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to collect some questions. I'm going to send it over to CCP. I want them to know what we're going to kind of talk about in advance because I want them, I want them to feel comfortable and I want them to be happy to be here. This is not a rake you over the coals because we think Tie-Dye sucks, because these aren't the guys that can deal with that. These are the guys who have to try and keep us in the game every day, and I'm sure they have some really cool war stories to share because all
the server was on fire. I grabbed the extinguisher
these are guys
and ran
who
to the CPU.
These are guys who are actually, sort of there, with their hand on the fire extinguisher just in case the server actually catches on fire, kind of thing. So I'm fairly certain. But yeah, the one thing which I think I'd really like to actually ask them about is how over the top they have actually taken the dedicated fleet fight servers, because you can do some interesting stuff in terms of turning off cores and turning off physical cores in order to actually get a better heat dissipation on a certain core if you're only running one. So I'd be interested to know whether they actually do that kind of thing, or whether they've even thought about doing that kind of thing.
I'm sure it's going to be a great conversation, because when you think in terms of things like Citadels, let's take in terms of CCP denormalized, right? It had to be very interesting what he had to do from a performance perspective when they added Citadels and all the searches and the inventory things that just increased exponentially under that. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be great talk, and I hope everybody in the audience comes back for it. And I hope we get some questions from folks out in the audience when I tweet the email address to send to. And I will send it to Tweetfleet and everything.
God, it would be nice if we could get
you can delete it when we're done.
Yeah, it's going to be a temporary one.
Cool if we could get the proper post-mortem of the latest big fight, because some of the numbers were thrown around, but we haven't actually gotten the real presentation on how much was happening and how much the load was.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's some of the things that I'll gather from us that we will send toward them. And we're going to have that big conversation. I think it's going to be very interesting. So I wanted everybody to know we've got two folks from CCP that you don't normally see on shows, and we're going to bring them to you here live next Saturday. Unless they back out, because I did get confirmation from CCP that they were going to be here already. So
just make sure, Eric, that it's not the conference. They don't come into the call through like their conference center, because the audio from that is just terrible.
Did you have an issue with the conference mic?
Oh, fucking conference mics! Holy shit! Never again.
That was the most horrible episode of Talking in Stations ever.
Oh, see, we have Skype conference rooms. All Skype, plug right in. So, yeah, so it'll be interesting. So we will see that. Any last words from anybody? Urandus, I'll start with you.
I'm going to pass just because I have nothing really to say.
Yeah, nothing. We'll come back to him, ladies and gentlemen. The Cloud.
I mean, my usual shout out to my Init Bros and T-Grads. Init's been doing some interesting things, in classic Init form. And we look to hopefully utilize that on people soon. So that should be fucking hilarious.
Cool. I wish you luck, man. Caleb, you're up.
Oh, I'll just give my shout out to Jintan that finally found his testes.
Oh yeah, it's now Jin Tappy now.
Yep.
Jin is happy as Jin Tappy.
Jin Tappy? I don't get it, by the way.
Tappy, Test Alliance, please ignore.
Oh, okay, Tappy. That's see, I didn't know that. But yeah, I figured. Yeah, he has to go. To where those weebs are. Hey,
he's not his favorite weeb.
I don't think I'm the one who actually was saying that. I think there was a certain high-level individual that might have tweeted that out.
He loves his cat ears, and I think they're cat ear friendly over there.
Okay, there you go.
I don't think he's got one of those in real life yet. We should convince him to get
No,
one.
he does.
Oh, I've just not seen him wearing them on cam yet.
I think I have it somewhere, but yeah.
You came about that pretty quick there, Urandus. That was a quick.
I'm his favorite weeb. What do you want?
There you go.
It's really weird being like a weeb in Goonswarm, because it's like weeb culture is kind of like it's what is taboo. And it's like no.
You just weeb on the side. You have to weeb on the side when no one's paying attention.
On the side.
Yeah.
I swear to God, in the UK, if you're like in university, like the whole onesie thing like just happens. You just have to roll with it.
Okay.
The onesie thing.
Yep.
Animal onesie thing.
Yeah. That shit is strong right now.
Yeah.
People just show up in like unicorn onesies or whatever to class. It's fucking dumb.
I come from the era when you're a freshman, you pull the fire alarm in the freshman dorms to see what the freshman girls wear. It's funny the number.
I was called out like that one.
Oh, it's funny the number of people who got arrested at my university for trying that.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't play kindly with that kind of crap.
So
people at my school are generally smart and don't do things like that.
Yeah. It's a good that's pretty good try there, but
the issue with
our
my
cops
university,
are assholes.
So the issue I have with my university is like all the doors are alarmed. So if someone in like your residence hall holds the door open too long for their friend, it starts to go off and basically wakes everyone up at like 4 a.m.
Nice.
You know what they say? You're either quick or you're dead.
Basically.
There you go. And by the way, for somebody out there, could you tell them who a weeb is? They don't know what a weeb is. They think it's a spod miner.
Weeboo. It's basically a person who enjoys Japanese culture and anime and likes to throw terms like, I'm not going to get into it, but basically just...
We need to
start throwing terms. No, you got to start throwing terms. You said terms. What terms? We need some terms.
Okay. All right, Scythe-kun.
Teach us. Oh, God damn it.
Give it.
You might get stabbed for that
Google.
one.
See, I don't even know a lot of Japanese. I know some Chinese, but like, I'm a really bad weeb.
I'm gonna go play the Turning Japanese video after this.
I took down
Kung
all
Pao.
of my.
That's the only weeb term I know.
Kung Pao.
I took down all my merch recently. Just as I was coming back from school, so I have nothing hung up right now. But I do have my little Funko Pop thingy. But I mean that's about it right now.
So the weeb is weak with this one. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically.
Jeez.
Alrighty, RJ, what's your last word this week?
I'm just looking forward to seeing what these fatigue changes will look like. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's like the lamest last word ever.
I love you. I love you.
And you look so good in the intro with the fucking cigar, the window, and that's just
Well, we're gonna see what's happening in the future. I mean, if I do end up moving or whatnot back to the East Coast, fingers crossed, I'll have my whole freaking studio set up, so I'll be back up on video.
All I'm saying
Fuck
is
yeah.
your response this week was below expectations. Okay.
I can't
Next
I
time-
love you. I love you.
But you did awesome with
Next
the
time
show.
we see.
All right,
I was
so I
gonna say-
have what I want to say for my last word.
All right, Uranus, you're up.
Jintan, please marry me so that I can become your sugar baby and you can be my
Oh my
sugar
god.
daddy. Because
Yep, we went there.
working.
He proposed on screen.
Like,
Terrible. I
And
don't
now that
even
he's no
remember what I
longer
was gonna
in
say
TVA, I am totally willing.
I got last words.
now. Scythe, go.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life.
Oh my
The facts of life.
That's
I've
far
I've
far
lost
too
my
sensible
mind
for
this week,
something
and you have no
that
idea.
Scythe says.
Scythe had a crush on Blair. We know he did.
I don't even think I've watched an entire episode of that show.
But you know the
I know the goddamn theme song. You're damn right I do.
You had a crush on Blair.
I could
And
not
a
even
little
tell you
scratch.
which one Blair is by looking at the cast. Though I assume it's the hot one because,
All right, everybody. That's a wrap for this week. We hope to see you next week when we have CCP around. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye.